हेलो एंड वेलकम। स्वागत है आपका आरसीआई के नवशिखर चैनल पर। हम लौट आए हैं एक बार एक नए डिस्कशन और एक नए एक्सपर्ट के साथ। आज हम बात करने जा रहे हैं अबाउट डेवलपिंग ऑपरेशंस इन डेवलपिंग कम्युनिकेशन स्किल्स इन पर्सन विद स्पेसिफिकली मल्टीपल हैंडीकैप. And for the purpose in our studio, as an expert, we have Miss Hema Gauri, who's working as the special educator for person with the mental handicap. Hello, ma'am, and welcome to our discussion for today. क्या रोल है एस्टैब्लिशिंग ऑपरेशंस का जब हम मल्टीपल हैंडीकैप व्यक्तियों की बात करते हैं? मैम, इससे पहले कि हम आगे बढ़ें और हम रोल पे जाएं, सबसे पहले मैं चाहूँगी कि आप हमारे व्यूअर्स को एक बेसिक सा इंट्रोडक्शन दें कि व्हाट इज़ एग्जैक्टली एस्टैब्लिशिंग ऑपरेशन, और व्हाट डज दैट टर्म एक्चुअली मीन.
Okay, it's a good question. Let me start giving the exact meaning of the terminology establishing operation. First, we'll move on to the screen now. Establishing operations, short formly we call EO. The terms establishing operation, EO, was first used by Keller, Schoenfeld, 1950, to describe a motivated variable that could affect behavioral emission. Skinner took the concept of drive, and Michael 1983 elaborated on the term by defining it as an environmental event, operation or stimulus condition having two conjoint functions. First, it alters the effectiveness of certain other events as reinforcers or punishers. Secondly, it alters the frequency of behaviors associated with these reinforcing or punishing events. Now let me briefly explain what is meant by elaborating operation. Actually, exactly in 1950, the term is coined used by Keller and Schoenfeld as a motivated variable.
Okay.
That means it is a motivated variable that emits the response in an effective way. The response will be so. Normally it started with the behavior analysis, functional behavior analysis technique. It has started. Okay, when Skinner started, he used it as a drive. That means, like if you take operant condition, the animal is kept deprivation of food, whatever it is, it's a drive that made it how to search the food. So the motivational drive, what is the motivational variable that will have a good response on the object or event or response, whatever it is.
Okay.
And Michael in 1953, he particularly explained it as he never used the word motivational variable, he used the word it is an environmental event or it is an operation or stimulus that has two associated function. Actually, he explained environmental event in the sense, say for example, certain activity taking place in the environment. Let us start with an example.
Okay.
A child with multiple disability, he wants to play even fond of music.
Okay.
That time somebody is switching on the
Tape recorder or
video,
like
whatever it is,
yeah.
the child get attracted. So the environmental event that gives two conjectured function in the sense, first one, it alters the event. Alters the event mean the child may move towards this thing,
Music.
or if it is a non-preferable mean, he will want to refuse it.
Okay.
Okay, the second one, the frequency will increase.
All right.
Because of the repetition of any activity, it motivates the child to repeat it every time. First time if we do it, again the child come and shows the same behavior. Let us take an example, the child who don't prefer certain smell.
Okay.
When the smell somebody is cooking, one of the child with autism spectrum disorder and visually impaired, whoever cooks certain that this thing, garbage and that items, whatever, automatically she used to go away from the home. Otherwise, if they are cooking at home, in the sense she will go and whatever thing throwing object in the kitchen. Otherwise, definitely she will leave the room, or because she is not she is having sensory problem,
that smell.
sensory problem with that particular smell. So the establishing operation, it tells in the environment there are certain stimuli that will alert the effectiveness of the response.
Okay.
So the effectiveness may be because of reinforcer, or maybe it is like punishment. Punishment means it is a aversive therapy like that, earlier it was there,
Yeah.
earlier, then it was removed. So even if we take in the VBA method or whatever it is in the communication technology,
Yeah.
normally this establishing operation technique we are using with communication and even behavior modification of solving problem behaviors also.
सो आपके कहने का मतलब यही है कि ऐसे जो वेरिएबल्स या जो ऐसे फैक्टर्स हैं जो किसी भी बच्चे के बिहेवियर को पॉजिटिव वे में बढ़ाते हैं या प्रॉब्लम को रिड्यूस करते हैं, सो दे आर ओनली अवेलेबल इन द एनवायरनमेंट इटसेल्फ.
Environmental event or environmental operation, or it be a stimulus in the environment. Yes, exactly.
It has to be in the environment. All right.
Even it could be even means there may be people around the environment.
जी.
The environment, because if we are talking about the multiple disability group, the knowledge about the environment is a big question mark.
Absolutely.
If the person is having, say for example, with locomotor problem and MR, okay, at least they can see and hear.
Yeah.
Okay, but the person with visual impairment and hearing impairment along with autism or MR, multiple category means, later we will see about the definition of multiple disability. Normally a person having more than one disability means it refers to multiple disability. Again, in multiple disability the condition may be mild, moderate or
Severe.
okay, even profound, whatever it is.
Yeah.
But our motto is how to strengthen the communication. Okay, in even establishing operation, Michael mentioned two types of establishing categories. Let us move to the screen for that topic. Categories of establishing operations. Michael in 1993 delineated two broad categories of establishing operations, EOs. They are, number one, unconditioned establishing operation, UEO, are defined as events, operations and stimulus conditions whose reinforcer establishing effects are unlearned. The notion of UEO is closely related to the notion of unconditioned reinforcement. Number two, conditioned establishing operation, CEO, are defined as events, operations and stimulus conditions whose reinforcer establishing effects are learned. So when we are coming to the establishing operation, there are two types of establishing operation generally overall. So unconditioned establishing response refers to the unconditioned reinforcer, or if we take operant condition in a simple way to explain to others, it is unconditioned stimulus. Like if the looking at the food, automatically salivation starts. It is an unconditioned stimulus. But we make it as condition means we have to train, we have to pair it. Then the learning starts. So in establishing operation refers, it is unconditioned. It is, they haven't learned it. It is unlearned.
Okay.
But when we come to the conditioned establishing operation means it is learned. So in learned in the sense,
explain that by giving some examples.
Actually, yes, let me explain it. Establishing operation learned in the sense, now let me take the same example, the music. Now the child is watching, somebody is okay, let me clarify exact condition of the child vision is there. Okay. The child is having MR with autism and mild CP. Okay. By looking at this thing, the child is now fond of to go and check this thing. That is unconditioned stimuli. It's natural. The child is fond and going.
Okay.
Okay. It is unconditioned establishing operation. The next time, because the child is keep on looking, when she moves, when the person reaches that place near this, if the child moves there, the learning starts. They are switching it on, or whether he keep their hands. It's once in a while they are doing that. Then the learning starts. Okay, if I do this, the response is coming. That's what we said. It gives two conjoint associated function. Establishing operation. Number one, it alerts the effectiveness of the response. It alerts means it gives an alertness for them. Okay, now I will get this response from this person. Number two, it increases the frequency. Because the response is convenient or comfortable for the child, definitely the child will repeat it. Or if you take any problem behavior, now the child, same example, let me come for the cooking item in the kitchen. Okay, now the child, if he goes and throws the object, now the mother stops me, it's again learned. Then she will think, okay, let me do it repeatedly, do this. to stop this.
Okay.
Because the communication barrier is the main problem. They don't know how to convey to them, I am getting this thing, or where to go and sit, or the environment place will be very small. They don't go this place or first floor or second floor, this, that and all. Then where to send the child? Even one of the child in our center, whoever cooks that egg omelette, wherever, she will run away to their house.
Oh.
She is a child with autism and visual impairment.
Okay.
But the smell is there. So one stimulus is, one channel of the vision is affected, but her smell is very good. She may move anywhere.
All right.
So the conditioned stimulus, if you take, again Michael delineated into 3 subtypes. One is the surrogate establishing operation. It tells the event occurs as an unconditional wave only, the same. Second is reflexive establishing operation. Reflexive establishing operation conveys that the motivating variable, the stimulus, that will change the event.
Okay.
So motivating variable in the sense the response from the environment, the event or the stimulus, whatever it is, that change the event, alters the event change in the child, within the child. Okay. The third one is the transitional establishing operation. Transitional establishing operation refers to the event won't change what is in the child, the other event in the environment.
Okay.
So again it refers, transition means the variable, it makes them to do certain thing, as again it is expected only.
Okay, that's expected.
So overall,
All
if
right.
we take normally to have a simple connection, it's like a reinforcement. It's a trained reinforcement, learned conditioned reinforcement.
Yeah.
So that motivate the multiple disability group what to do next.
Okay, but the example that you just gave us, about that girl who's visually impaired and autistic. So because, she's smelling that omelette thing, so she's going there. So, it's unconditional EO.
Earlier it was unconditioned, but she is a verbal child. If she is
Okay.
non-verbal, again there may be a question. But being a
Alright.
verbal child, she haven't conveyed the mother, somebody is cooking omelette, shall I go there?
Alright.
Sorry, that question is not coming.
Yeah.
Or I want to eat omelette.
Yeah.
No,
So that is also not
nothing.
coming. Okay.
Directly going there, opening the door, or whether somebody is at home, whether shall I ask them, shall I come to your home, or what.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
that is the problem we are having, the children with the autism spectrum disorder. The socialization, interaction, communication is a major issue.
Yeah.
So automatically what happens, the child immediately she will open the door and goes on one. Even if some newcomer comes, they withhold their hand and asking where you are going. Omelette. Then only she will reply as omelette.
Okay.
If somebody asks.
Yeah.
That
Otherwise, she's not really
Otherwise she
communicating.
wants that item, it's need based, she will go there.
Okay. मैं एक बार हमारे दर्शकों को याद दिला दूं that if you have any queries or if you want to ask any question regarding our topic today, you can call us on our toll-free number, which is 1-800-112-008. Our landline number is 265-11613, and you can call us on our fax number also, which is 265-11609. So ma'am, coming back to our topic, क्योंकि हमारा टॉपिक ये है कि हम एस्टैब्लिशिंग ऑपरेशंस को किस तरह से कम्युनिकेशन डेवलप करने के लिए यूज करेंगे. सो बिफोर वी स्ट्रेट अवे जंप टू द टॉपिक कि कैसे डेवलप किया जाएगा, I just want you to give a brief description of what are the different things that comes under communication.
Okay, let me first start with the definitions of communication. Actually, normally certain parents or people, they have a confusion about the communication language, both are the same.
Okay.
What is the differentiation in communication or language or speech? Let us have what is the relationship or what is the main difference.
Okay.
Then we will go for the forms of
All right.
Okay, let us move to the screen. Relationship between language, speech and communication. Communication is an active and intentional two-way process. The speaker intentionally transmits informations and the listener intentionally receives it. Subsequently, they may exchange their roles. Language is a set of arbitrary symbols, mainly conventional, used by a group of people for the purpose of communication. Speech is the most efficient and frequently used mode of language expression. Speech is a set of verbal codes. Three major aspects, communication, language and speech, are interrelated. communication is much more than using language and speech. Without language is not meaningful. Let me briefly explain about it. Actually, communication is a two-way process.
Yeah.
First thing, it is intentional. Intentional in the sense there is a purpose, aim, and definitely there will be an expectation of anticipatory response. There will be an alert, because when we take a communication, say for example, certain people on their own, they may speak, they may whatever they are doing, say for example, maximum it affects children with autism spectrum disorder, and other normally multiple disabled children even with MR comes, definitely on their own they utter certain words.
Okay.
No need that they should have autism spectrum disorder. As the severity occurs, certain children on their own they speak utter certain words, but there is no intention that they are conveying to others. So to convey to others in the sense, how we can identify? So communication two-way process in the sense, it allows that there is an anticipatory reaction from the other side. The
Okay.
person who speaks utters some word, or again if I simply explain, communication is a process, it has expressive and receptive aspect.
Okay.
In way of expressive could be verbal, or could be written words,
Maybe
or whatever,
gestural.
gesture, action,
Yeah.
sign language, even listening receptive language also the same. All the modality, even if you take visually impaired, only tactile is working,
Yeah.
maximum more, even smell, there are taste, whatever, because to teach the concept, it's salty, it is sweet. Definitely the modality is taste. First information, even if we utter verbally, ye meeta hai, this is sweet, no, this is bitter. By looking at the object, we can
Yeah,
think
yeah, yeah.
it's not, the object won't give the attribute, the character. So in communication, there should be expressive and receptive aspect is there, but mainly main focus, because in our establishing operation, the main thing, how to develop intentional communication. Main thing, if communication is not intentional, then the true way process is a blockage.
Okay.
For child with a multiple disability, first thing, the connection about the world, environment, and the people in the environment, there is a big blockage depending upon the severity of the child.
Okay.
If it is a mild, okay, or moderate somewhat, again even if it is a mild or moderate, depending upon the condition also, say for example it is only with paraplegic and MR, okay, then the child can at least watch or
Say,
hear whatever
yeah,
it is,
yeah,
or if it is paraplegic with hearing impairment, okay, IQ will be maximum normal,
Yeah.
then
And
that
then he's seeing everything. So
he can
obviously-
learn everything as regular sign language,
Yeah,
only the
right,
mobility
right.
thing he is in need.
Right.
But if the child is with vision problem along with hearing, then it's a question mark how he will get information about the environment, about the people in the environment, because one thing, blockage in the vision has gone, that is the major area, again in the hearing.
Absolutely. So tactile thing is the only option.
If it is
left
only two, but again three condition or more than three or
More than
whatever
three,
it
yeah.
is, then
And again it
again,
becomes a
because
major problem.
nowadays we are having multiple disability group in such a way that children with autism, visual, hearing, it's coming as mixed together. How we will process the information to the child? It's a major challenging for us even in the classroom setup, because one of the child, the parents are coming and telling the child is around 8 years. He came to our center. He is along with visual impairment, hearing, locomotor, and autism. All autism I can't clearly tell. Self-stimulatory behavior it started.
Okay.
So they labeled it as. But the thing, how we will convey to them about the environment.
Right.
So it's main thing, communication, intentional aspect we always have to think.
Okay.
Second thing, regarding language, language is a set of arbitrary symbol in the sense, we know language, now I am speaking English, okay, again if I am telling, अभी हिंदी में बोल रही हूँ, this is also language, it's arbitrary symbol, made it conventional.
Okay.
It has its own regulation, rules, and that. Our topic is not that now at present. Now speech is, it's a verbal code, it's vocal. But again, speech without language is meaningless. Because without language, speech is meaningless. Again, even if language is there, if there is no intention, if it is a echolalia, okay, speech, say for example, take the child utters, pani piyunga. But language is correct.
Yeah.
Speech is also correct. But there is no intention, he is not conveying to
It's
others.
not meaningful
He is
actually,
echolalia.
yeah.
So, and that is what is, three things, they are interrelated together. Main thing is the communication is the biggest one.
Okay.
Other aspect of language is a vehicle of communication, one of the vehicle, and speech is one of the tool of language.
Okay, so these three are they're interrelated with each other in a way. Okay.
And one more thing, let me simply move to the screen. Forms of communication: motoric, direct physical manipulation of a person or object; gestural, pointing, showing, gazing shift; vocalization, use of sounds including crying to communicate; sign language, communication with a conventional sign language system; using objects, the child hands an object to another person to communicate; using photo, use of two-dimensional photographs to communicate; pictorial, use of two-dimensional drawing which represent objects, actions or events; written, use of printed words or phrases to communicate. Actually, forms of communication, it varies. Here whatever we have seen is just a sample of it. Okay, so the child can communicate depending upon the severity. Apart from it, the main topic, again let us move to the screen. Initial guidelines for a communication intervention plan. 1. Guidelines from a speech pathologist who has training in a variety of intervention approaches. Number 2, collection of information from parents, interviewing with the other partners, observation and assessment process and setting the goal. Number 3, planning to execute available resources. Number 4, building comprehension along with expressive skills output, verbal and non-verbal. Number 5, design opportunities for fostering communication skill development. Number 6, show consistency by training others in the environment. Number 7, monitor and check the progress for suggestion of program changes or modifications. Number 8, evaluate what additional need to be enhanced support to communication development. Mainly when we are dealing with a child with multiple disability, our aspect is to enhance the communication. So first thing, we are in need of a speech pathologist, because if the child is having vision and along with hearing, now our problem, we can't teach the sign language because vision problem get affected. But again to go for tactile, the language hearing impairment, again troubles, he can't hear the word.
Right.
So again now we have to go think about now what
comes next. Yeah.
The speech pathology, the existing techniques, they know whatever it is, and according to the child level they will move. First thing mainly. Second, the point what I conveyed is interviewing the parents and observing and other partners. I will give a small example. One of the child, he is having mild CP with visual impairment and autism spectrum disorder. Around age 6, I think the parents come to me and they asked, ma'am, my child is not communicating anything.
Okay.
I asked how he communicate, need based everything. They simply said this, that and all.
Okay.
When I went for observation, during his lunch time, they are taking the lunch to his bedroom, everything. Whatever it is, it will come to his bedroom.
Okay.
Then I said, when the communication intent has to start, mean we have to structure the environment. The person, so to set a goal, the main preference is interviewing the parents, this that will give not the full aspect of it, because the parents' view differs.
Yeah, right.
Even if we ask them whether the child indicate communication, mean in case if the child goes to the toilet independently at home, they will tell, ma'am, he is going correctly at home, ma'am, but indicate.
नहीं करता.
They won't tell it as indication. He is very good at home. He indicating at home. The meaning what they are telling is indicating at home.
Okay.
Because mommy is at kitchen. Say for example, child won't go to the kitchen and telling, I want to go to toilet. No, he knows the place, location.
So he's just going there and doing whatever he wants.
But toilet indication means then we have to train at the home itself first.
Right.
So that comes even for multiple disability group. Again, depending upon the severity, we have to go each and every step.
Okay.
The third goal comes as after setting this one. Communication with multiple disability child, the problem starts, input reduces automatically depending upon the severity of the condition. Because of the environment, say for example the child, same child what I referred, visual impairment with autism and this thing. Now the child response is very poor.
Yeah.
Overall in the environment.
Right.
They will talk only on need base. Okay, now this is his eating time, okay, his outing time, his bathing time. With that time they will go and talk to him. Rest of the time in between maybe little bit. But when the child is not getting how much input, because in language aspect, receptive language is a very important one to improve the expressive.
Yeah, so you mean to say, that receptive thing has to be there first before a child, starts
With
expressing
the child, say
something.
for example, if I am teaching yes or no questions, say for
Ji,
example, if
right.
nobody asks it, do you want?
Yeah.
They don't know the meaning of yes and no. But all of a sudden, how come I expect the child can express हाँ या ना?
Okay, so the receptive होना जरूरी है इससे पहले कि हम बच्चे
No,
को ये
normally for any so-called human being, receptive language comes
होना
first.
is yeah,
No,
receptive
for
comes
any
first.
child, crying child, by listening the mother's sound,
Yeah.
within the 3 months, the child understand the nearby person's voice and it stops.
Yeah.
The child start babbling or crying, cooing, whatever it is, that is the next issue. Main thing, the response. Even the tactile sense starts first. As the people holding him, the child response differs depending upon the tactile differences.
Yeah, and if the same baby को अगर हम mother को देते हैं, so he stops crying.
Whomsoever it is, even
Yeah.
for a 2-month child, we can catch it easily. So again the fourth step comes how to develop the resources available. Say for example, if the child is in a rural area, we can't think about a computer or this, that and all. So we have to think what the availability resources is there we can use. Again, or if the child is in a well place, you get all the modalities.
Yeah.
Then we can go for it. So by focusing on the child, the same child, say for example, I mentioned a child with visual impairment. For communication, I said whatever he wants, just to keep a bell. Just let him press it. That means he is calling somebody else. Because with the autism spectrum disorder, in case if you want anything, he is not labeling and calling anybody.
Okay. Yeah.
He moves. By holding the wall, he is moving and going to the particular area. Main his preference is to activity, rocking in the chair and listening to music. And no other, and deep pressure he likes, more cuddling and all. Only 3 things. But how he can communicate to others? Music. Only thing, he will go and stand near the stereo and he will start
switch on the
starting.
music.
He don't know how to switch on. He will tap.
Okay.
Then somebody in the house, they will come and they will switch on.
But that is again a form of a communication,
But it is a form, but is it suitable for him to communicate to others? I want to listen music. Tapping on the table, if nobody comes, then he will throw the object.
Okay, ma'am, before we move on and हम अपने इस discussion को जारी रखें, we'll take a short break here and we'll be right back after the break.
ऑटिज्म एक व्यापक विकासात्मक विकलांगता है जिसके लक्षण जीवन के प्रथम 3 वर्ष में ही दिखाई पड़ते हैं, जैसे असंगत खेल, असमान स्थूल एवं सूक्ष्म गामक क्रियाएं, शाब्दिक संकेतों पर अभिव्यक्ति न देना।
देखो, ओपन योर आईज, ओपन करो, ओपन करके ओपन।
नियमित कार्यक्रम परिवर्तन का विरोध करना एवं अवलोकनीय शारीरिक उच्च स्तरीय या निम्न स्तरीय क्रियाकलाप। UNCRPD 2007 सेक्शन 1 ऑफ आर्टिकल 4 निशक्तता के क्षेत्र में कार्यरत प्रोफेशनल के प्रशिक्षण पर महत्व देता है। ऑटिज्म के क्षेत्र में सरकारी एवं गैर सरकारी संस्थाएं कार्यरत हैं जो भारतीय पुनर्वास परिषद द्वारा पंजीकृत हैं। सोसाइटी फॉर एडवांस स्टडी इन रिहैबिलिटेशन एक ऐसी ही गैर सरकारी संस्था है। कनिष्क 13 साल का एक ऑटिस्टिक बच्चा है जो इसी संस्था से प्रशिक्षण प्राप्त कर रहा है। असंगत क्रियाएं, कार्यकलापों में निरस्ता, असमान स्थूल एवं सूक्ष्म गामक क्रियाएं जैसे बॉडी रॉकिंग और फिंगर रिगलिंग उसमें देखी जा सकती है। उसे मैचिंग और पेस्टिंग, पॉइंटिंग जैसी क्रियाएं सिखाई जाती हैं।
वेरी गुड। ग्लास, वेयर इज द ग्लास? जो खाली बैग है। ग्लास, वेरी। कप को टच करो जल्दी से। कप को, वेयर इज द कप? वेरी गुड। कप में क्या करता है कनिष्क? टी पीता है। चलो ग्लास, वेयर इज द ग्लास? वेरी गुड। चलो बाउल की तरह, बाउल जल्दी से टच करो बाउल को। वेरी गुड। बाउल में क्या करता है कनिष्क?
तथा साथ ही साथ रोजमर्रा की आवश्यकताएं जैसे खाना, पीना, कपड़े पहनना, और व्यायाम संबंधी प्रशिक्षण दिया जाता है। ऑटिस्टिक बच्चों को भिन्न भिन्न प्रकार की कार्यविधियां उनके स्तर के अनुसार सिखाई जाती हैं, जैसे कुछ बच्चों के लिए कलरिंग विद इन वन एरिया, मैचिंग एंड आइडेंटिफिकेशन, फाइन मोटर स्किल्स, आई हैंड कोऑर्डिनेशन, कंसेप्ट ऑफ वेजिटेबल्स, फ्रूट्स, बॉडी पार्ट्स, कलर्स पर जोर दिया जाता है तथा कुछ को प्रश्न पढ़ के उत्तर देने में और रोजमर्रा की आवश्यकताओं को पूरा करने में सक्षम बनाया जाता है। इसके अलावा राइम्स, डांसिंग, सिंगिंग द्वारा लेजर एंड रिक्रिएशनल एक्टिविटीज में भाग लेने के लिए प्रोत्साहित किया जाता है। इन सभी कार्यकलापों एवं प्रशिक्षण का एकमात्र उद्देश्य उन्हें स्वनिर्भर बनाना है, ताकि ये डगमगाते पांव सक्षम बन जीवन के एक एक पायदान पर दृढ़ता से आगे बढ़ें और अपनी मंजिल को पा लें। एक तारा टिमटिमाता, उसने आकाश को छू लिया, एक लौ जली कहीं, उसने अंधकार को मिटा दिया।
वेलकम बैक आफ्टर द ब्रेक। मैं एक बार फिर हमारे दर्शकों को याद दिला दूं कि आप हमें कॉल कर सकते हैं हमारे RCI स्टूडियो पे और चाहें तो प्रश्न पूछ सकते हैं आज के इस टॉपिक से रिलेटेड हमारे एक्सपर्ट से। हमारा टोल फ्री नंबर है 1800112008, हमारा लैंडलाइन नंबर है 26511613 और हमारा फैक्स नंबर है 26511609। सो ब्रेक पे जाने से पहले हम बात कर रहे थे एस्टैब्लिशिंग ऑपरेशंस की। मैम ने हमें बहुत अच्छे से एक्सप्लेन किया कि डिफरेंट एक्सपर्ट्स के क्या क्या डिफरेंट ओपिनियंस रहे हैं अबाउट एस्टैब्लिशिंग ऑपरेशंस। देन आवर एक्सपर्ट टोल्ड अस कि हम एस्टैब्लिशिंग ऑपरेशंस को दो कैटेगरीज में डिवाइड कर सकते हैं। एक तो अनकंडीशनल एस्टैब्लिशिंग ऑपरेशंस हैं और एक कंडीशनड एस्टैब्लिशिंग ऑपरेशंस। दोनों का बहुत ही अच्छा और ब्रीफ इंट्रोडक्शन हमारे एक्सपर्ट ने दिया था। देन वी टॉक्ड अबाउट कम्युनिकेशन, लैंग्वेज एंड स्पीच. What is the exact relationship between speech, language and communication and how they are interrelated to each other. We talked about what are the different things that comes under the communication, because जो एक general perception होता है हम लोगों का, that is generally कि communication it only involves speech and language, but it's not the only case. It can be divided into the receptive, expressive and then so on, because expressive language again can be bifurcated into so many languages, like sign language and gestural and facial expressions,
Facial,
and
body language is
body
also
language
there.
and so on. So ma'am, coming on to next topic, multiple disability की अगर हम बात करते हैं, so what are the impacts of the multiple disability here?
Okay, first we'll just have a brief of the definition and characteristic of multiple disability.
Okay.
Then I will explain about the impacts with the example. Okay,
Alright.
let us move on to the screen. Multiple disability, the coexistence of more than one disability in a single individual. The overall impact of multiple disability is greater than the impact of the sum of the individual disabilities. Actually, overall, multiple disability in the sense it's just more than one disability. That conveys that more than one disability mean multiple disabilities, certain people having a notion that it's always severe.
Okay.
Overall, general view is that if one disability, whatever the type of disability, if it is in a severe condition, definitely it will have one more disability together.
Okay.
The severity, say for example, the child with severe retardation, okay, then again there is a more existence in the language area, because our main topic is language, I mean communication. Overall, if we take the communication disorder, there are so many disorders like semantic disorder, semantic pragmatic again, then again linguistic, other even aphasia. There are so many things. So, but even the same child even may show the dyslexic problem also again. But when the severity of any disability condition goes more, automatically there are option of one more disability together, or sometime there won't be like that, it will be mild only. Maybe the child is having mild CP,
Okay.
or only one hand like monoplegia, certain just tightness, again having MR.
Okay.
So in multiple disability overall, if we cover, it tells the person is having more than one disability, what is the primary and the secondary factor we have to look when we are giving program to the child. What is the main primary disability? Even if the child is first visual impairment, then secondary factor is autism, which is the primary factor.
Okay.
Only the diagnosis report will help us, otherwise we can't judge on our own.
Okay, so it's important, you know, to
Which is the
know.
primary and secondary factors of the
Yeah.
multiplicity.
I think बहुत ही important बात हमें हमारे expert ने यहाँ पे बताई, that when it comes to multiple disability, हम usually label कर देते हैं, you know, that this child has this disability, but we never, you know, look into the fact के which disability has the primary thing, and then what is
the main factor get affected
Yeah.
first. Let us move to the characteristic. Okay, move to the screen.
मैं एक बार फिर से हमारे दर्शकों को याद दिला दूं कि आप चाहें तो हमारे एक्सपर्ट से किसी भी प्रकार के प्रश्न पूछ सकते हैं, एंड यू कैन कॉल अस ऑन आवर टोल फ्री नंबर विच इज़ 1800112008. आवर लैंडलाइन नंबर इज़ 265111613 एंड आवर फैक्स नंबर इज़ 265111609. सो मैम, हम मल्टीपल डिसेबिलिटी के बारे में बात कर रहे थे.
Let us give an example. Overall, person with multiple disability, they have various this thing. Their first thing, their response with the environment is very much limited.
Yeah.
And they're always their language and communication get affected.
Okay.
And apart from it, they have self-stimulatory behavior. Because nowadays people are having a wrong notion, only autism spectrum disorder. They are labeling
Yeah,
as self-stimulation.
right.
No, when severity of in any disability increases, even if it is a mental retardation condition, definitely sensory stimulation starts.
Okay.
Okay, sensory stimulation start, even self-injurious behavior starts. And
yeah.
apart from it, what is the main problem is the understand not only communication, their mobility, they have problem moving place to place, and the restriction comes, and gathering information from the environment is the main factor for communication. Because the interaction has to be a two-way process, whatever the environment knowledge about the people in the environment, about the location in the environment, when the multiple disability comes, it hinders. Okay, then normally as we move like this, main thing will come for the impact of disability.
Okay.
So with the characteristic, now we have a knowledge that their speech get affected, and they have self-stimulatory behavior and this and that. Then how to think about a program? We have to give program for the person.
Absolutely.
So main impact are of two types.
Okay.
The first type is additive impact. The second one is interactive impact. Additive impact conveys that depending upon the disability, what is the first one and the secondary factor, the child may give the sum of the program. That conveys, let me give a small example. If the child with visual impairment with a mild, that what I said, monoplegia.
मैम, we'll go in the details further on. हम यहाँ पे लेंगे एक छोटा सा break and we'll be right back after the short break.
किसी की मुस्कुराहटों पे हो निसार, किसी का दर्द मिल सके तो ले उधार, किसी के वास्ते हो तेरे दिल में प्यार, जीना इसी का नाम है, जीना इसी का नाम है। मान अपनी जेब से फकीर हैं, फिर भी यारों दिल के हम अमीर हैं। मिटे जो प्यार के लिए वो जिंदगी, जले बहार के लिए वो जिंदगी, किसी को हो न हो हमें तो एतबार, जीना इसी का नाम है, जीना इसी का नाम है।
Read now.
a bit. हेलो एंड वेलकम बैक आफ्टर द ब्रेक। ब्रेक पे जाने से पहले हम मल्टीपल डिसेबिलिटी के बारे में डिस्कशन कर रहे थे और हमारी एक्सपर्ट ने हमें एक ब्रीफ इंट्रोडक्शन दिया व्हाट एग्जैक्टली दिस टर्म मल्टीपल डिसेबिलिटी मींस। तो मैम हम इम्पैक्ट्स ऑफ मल्टीपल डिसेबिलिटी के बारे में बात कर रहे थे एंड यू वर टेलिंग अस अबाउट द एडिक्टिव एंड इंटरैक्टिव इम्पैक्ट्स। सो जस्ट गिव अ डिस्कशन अबाउट इट।
Just let us have a clear definition of the terms.
Okay.
Move to the screen.
या
Impacts of multiple disabilities. Additive impacts. The impact of two or more disabilities on living and learning can be considered as additive or sum of the impact of the spread disability. Approaches for person with one of each the represented disability can therefore be used in combination. Interactive impacts. The impact of two or more disabilities on living and learning can be considered as interactive. Thus, a combination of approaches from the single disability area would not be adequate to serve the person's need. Rather, specific approach must be used. Let me briefly explain, ma'am. Actually, additive, impact, let me give a small example. A person with mild monoplegic and visual impairment. Okay. Now, it means not that much tightness. Okay. Then automatically to give the academic program, language program, we can use the braille, whatever it is. It is the just we don't need any other method separately. In case again if the same person is having spasticity, then automatically braille will give problem.
Absolutely.
Tactile. Then that area they are in need of interactive impact. That means there is a team approach. Again we have to modify. We can't give the braille program communication and it's a blockage because of the tightness and the tactile need they won't get that much due to the tightness. That means the impact means what are the types we can give additive or interactive depending upon the child's condition. Mainly we have to think about it. The same thing in communication. If I tell, say for example, the child, as I explained you, child with visual impairment or autism. Okay. Now the problem is the child is having autism also, visual impairment. Then for teach communication, shall we start braille? Then again communication, our problem is okay, already autism group normally we call as visual learner. Main problem blockage in the vision area for this child, number one. Number two, how the child receives the tactile. Now we have to go for tactile mainly. Definitely. Say instead of braille, let us use the object, because in communication method we are having various options. Touching the object also, the only thing the tactile sense we are in need. We are in need. So normally the impact, the interactive or additive we have to plan. The child needs.
Okay, so don't you think, ma'am, such situation can also arise, like you just gave an example of that girl. So because she has autism, so in case she has, some tactile defensiveness or something like that, then she may not.
It's a very good question. It's a very good question. Even if the tactile defensiveness comes, now what is the way of communication?
Absolutely.
In case if the child is verbal, then it's good. Again, if the child is non-verbal, always doing echolalia, thus, now how we will proceed? Even I can tell a child with the same problem, when we started sign language, and we gave 3 times samples, eating, then this thing, this is for toilet.
Okay.
The child learned.
Okay.
Within a week, I received a message from the mother, my daughter is sitting in the chair and always doing, repeating, because in the sign also what we call as a echolalic sign also there. It is not only word utterance.
All right.
We start touching the object and teaching this thing, they are nicely repeating it the same thing.
Okay.
So we have to think about main issue is the communication, the interaction, how to make the child to have a knowledge about the environment, have a knowledge about the people around him, and how we will make them have an intention. If you communicate via any channel, you will get a response and you can satisfy whatever the need you are having.
Okay.
So main issue is that.
All right. So I think it's a very important point to note here that echolalia is not something which is only restricted to verbalization.
It comes in the sign language, even
Okay.
gestural, everywhere, ma'am. It's coming.
Alright.
It comes.
Okay. So, so that was about the addictive impacts. Now, what about the interactive impacts, ma'am?
Interactive impacts, that's what I am telling. Now the child is having the spasticity, again this tactile,
Yeah.
or then we are to think now the communication tool is getting blackened. Now whether the child is verbal or non-verbal, again we have to look at the affect. If the child is verbal, okay, then we can try for verbal communication, what type we can make the child, but again he has to gain knowledge, means by touching our computer, we have to move for it. Computer keyboard, nowadays there is a very good high technology, helps a lot. There are modification in the keyboard. Then instead of using braille letter, the child has to do with the keyboard. I think for visually impaired people, the computer keyboard also with the braille modification has come out.
Okay.
So by touching that, the child can learn it.
Okay.
We can again, in case if the child is having mental retardation along with this thing, means again, because I faced that problem with one of the child, then I thought now how I will teach an information, because identification object easy for us, but we can't go for picture identification, this, that and all. Then I went and asked that visual impairment center. They said, ma'am, better use the tactile, that embossing pictures pattern like that, move like that with the picture presentation. So it helped us.
Okay. Okay, so ma'am, you know, what are the different types of the communication that you would, you know, like to share with the viewers?
Yeah, it's main questions, because let us move for the main. What are the types of communication that we will enforce? Enrich the communication of the multiple disability group. First, let us move to the two different types of communications. Let us move to the screen. Two main different types of communication. Pre-intentional communication. The child says or does some things without intending to affect those around them. This type of communication can be used by the child to calm themselves, focus themselves as a reaction to an upsetting or fun experiences. Intentional communication, the child says or does things with the purpose of sending message to another person. The more from pre-intentional communication is a big lead for a child with multiple diversity. Actually, the types of communication it conveys pre-intentional communication and intentional. Earlier itself, while explaining the definition of communication, we said it should be intentional. There will be a purpose. Intentional refers there will be a purpose or an aim to get an anticipatory response from the environment.
Yeah.
The response should be anticipatory, but pre-intentional in the sense that what we call echolalia or whatever, there won't be intentional. The child on or won't does any actions or giving the object in the person or whatever it is. That is pre-intentional stage. Normally all children, parents simply they will tell it's need based. It is a pre-intentional the stage. From the pre-intentional stage to move to the intentional stage is the main big leap to start the communication class for the child.
Can you just give an example?
Example,
here?
that's what intentional. Say for example, let us make an example of a child with mental retardation along with visual problem. Okay, what are the child if wants anything to play? So the child has to engage, because in the environment, if they won't, if they are having locomotor problem, definitely then problem arises a lot and self-stimulation starts, because the child can't move in the environment to get the things needed. So automatically certain self-stimulation or say hand, head banging, sound making,
These
certain
kind of
things
things
come
they
in.
arise, yeah.
But if they are movable, automatically they will go and search the object. But if they don't have any knowledge about the environment, orientation and mobility, then there is a blockage. How to ask? What are the reachable? They will try it. If not reachable, they will cry for it. If they are verbal, they can utter the word. Again, if they are non-verbal, there is a big havoc that how to manage it.
Yeah.
But with the same child, now we will in the next step we will go for the stages of the communication. I will explain it that stage. So intentional means how to make the child to understand. If I convey to others, I can get whatever I want. That is what we call as the intentional part of the communication. So intentional test, how to make the child, because the child is having multiple disability, make the child to understand the people in the environment will respond to me if I start an interaction relationship with them. First we have to give that much understanding to them. So, okay, for that I will give the main stages of the communication. This thing, move to the screen. 4 different stages of communication. The stage of communication that the child has reached depends on 3 things: their ability to interact with another person, how and why they communicate, their understanding. Stage 1, the own agenda stage. A child at this stage of communication will appear uninterested in the people around them and will tend to play alone. The communication will be mainly pre-intentional. Stage 2, the requester stage. At this stage, the child has begun to realize that their actions have an effect on other people. They are likely to communicate to the adult their wants and what they enjoy by pulling them towards objects, areas or games. Stage 3, the early communicator stage. At this stage, the child's interaction will begin to increase in length and become more intentional. The child may also begin to echo some of the things that they hear to communicate their needs. Gradually, the child will begin to point to things that they want to show the adult and begin to shift their gaze. This is a sign that the child is beginning to engage in a two-way communication. Stage 4, the partner stage. When the child reaches this stage, they have become a more effective communicator. The child will be using speech to talk and will be able to carry out a simple conversation. While the child may appear confident and capable when using communication in familiar environments, example at home, they may struggle when they enter unfamiliar territory, example at a new nursery or school. Let me briefly explain about it. Actually, to the stages of communication tells, before thinking about the stages, first we have to understand whether the child has any interaction with the environment. Environment means the location, a knowledge about it and the people in the location. Apart from it, their cognition also very important one. Any communication aspect, if the cognition is in the lower level, whatever it is understanding, then it blackens. That's why normally when we tell about children with mental retardation, mild or moderate severity, profound, as it comes moves, how to make the child to understand that environmental, what is the demand from the environment and whatever it is. Okay, the first stage is own agenda stage. It conveys just the it is the self-stimulated stage. The child engages on his own. The need based, depending upon the child's severity or condition, the child may move in the environment to grab it or get it. Okay. Again, the limitations, say for example what I conveyed about the child who is having hearing problem, vision and mental retardation and orthopedic, even up to age he is not able to even sit. But the child will be always doing self-stimulation and hitting. The complaint with the parents is my child is always hitting. I am taking care of him very well, giving food or whatever it is.
But still he is doing the same thing again.
Because then we have to think about one agenda stage means what is the environmental input he is getting. How many, that we think about in the next stage. But in the one agenda stage means it is a stage they are in the one self world.
Okay.
It doesn't mean that it is autism disorder. No. They won't mean because of the severity of the condition. Okay. The second stage, what we call it as a receptor stage. In this stage, when say for example, take the same example, the child getting this, because the parents are keeping certain sound making object because he is having hearing problem also.
Okay.
So sound making object with a vibration, because that may make the child certain sensory input that gives. So we request the mother keep the different object with the different textures, different smell
and different,
and the vibration should be different. Whether don't bother about whether the child is able to hear the sound or not. The vibration differs depending upon what object, because they are from the rural area. They can't buy so many. I said take a rough plastic bottle, put balls or beads or whatever different item. As the child shakes, the vibration differs. It's an enjoyable time. Let us start whether the child interaction. The interaction, how it starts with them. That is the main simple step towards whether the intention will start or what. The third stage comes as the early communicator stage. Here the child gains, okay, the people in the environment are interacting with me, they are giving me certain thing. When I, okay, say for example, if the same child enjoys rocking, if the mother comes and keeping on the lap and start rocking, and the child enjoys. When they stops, the child started patting the mother. Then
okay, do that.
it is the signal the child is giving. I want it again.
Okay.
Again, it is, that is what we call the establishing operation. The response is eliciting that again the child gets it. So the child now starts, if I do this, that's learning come, that's conditioned establishing operation.
So
Learning
it was
comes.
not there at the second stage when we talked about requester stage?
Requester stage, the child still in a wavering confusion. It's not that much confirmation. Again, depending upon the severity, if it is not that much, they can easily move.
Okay, so but the child is not communicating on his
Interaction
own.
not that much on his own.
Okay, okay, okay.
Certain times maybe. The fourth is, even in the third stage itself, the child is now reaching the intentional stage.
Okay.
Automatically the child understand, if I act with a certain purpose, I will get response from the environment, and automatically how many input the child is getting,
Yeah.
the fourth stage automatically start, the communication improves a lot.
Okay.
As the communication improves, the child will try to communicate in the known places. Again, I first earlier conveyed in the intervention plan, resources available in the environment is the main factor with a person with a multiple disability, because as the disability increases and it adds, the response from the environment shrinks. So automatically the environmental responses shrinks means the communication input automatically becomes a problem, because communication input reduces. So automatically for the communicator stage, for these 4 stages, the main issue we have to think how to make the child with a multiple disability to have an intention first.
Yeah.
What are the phases? We are having phases. We will be looking at it in the next of this thing. Main thing we have to think about by looking at the child, what I conveyed, pre-intentional and intentional stage. Whether the child is reaching intentional stage or not. How the child is responding. Depending upon the severity, first we have to focus. Even I will again give a small example. The child I conveyed visual impairment with autism spectrum disorder. I conveyed the mother, first make a thing, the child will eat in the only dining table. Let him move and let him sit, then he will get his food.
Okay.
But within 2 weeks, whenever he feel hunger, at least he move to the dining table. Because his location, because with multiple disability, structuring the environment is a rule. It is structuring the environment doesn't mean that it is only with autism spectrum disorder. Nowadays, certain notion that structuring environment, schedule, show
day,
that this
entire
means
day, yeah.
they get the calendar means they are thinking it's only with a person. No, even we are using children with dyslexic. The IQ may be 145, but we are using schedules. We are keeping the daily routines.
Okay.
Because we know this thing.
So the structuring and scheduling is not only restricted to autistic kids these days.
No, never. But there is a confusion among certain people when we convey them, ma'am, my child is not autism. First response what we are getting is this. But normally we structure like that. Automatically the child will move towards how to start communicating with others.
Yeah,
The
and as
input.
you just said, that to facilitate communication in person with multiple handicap, it's important to, provide them opportunity by making availability of the resources in the environment.
That is what I am telling you. Availability, if it is a rural area, again we have to think about the rural area location. What are the things the child can get? I think a simple thing with a wooden stick, that if we rock it, the sound will come.
Okay.
So that is good. If we just do that, the child can engage with what are the certain things. So the intentional stage conveys that the child is anticipating a response from the environment.
Okay. So now if we talk about the learning strategies की अगर हम बात करते हैं, so what are the different learning strategies that can be used for a person with multiple handicap?
Okay, for the learning strategy, first we will move to the phases of entering to the learning strategy for children with multiple disability.
इससे पहले मैम कि हम ये learning strategies का topic शुरू करें, we'll take a short break here and we'll be right back after the break.
The chief handicap of the blindness is not blindness, but the attitude of seeing people towards them. आइए जानने और समझने की कोशिश करते हैं कि बधिरांधता यानी डेफ ब्लाइंडनेस क्या है। बधिरांधता एक स्थिति है जिसमें दृष्टिहीनता एवं सुनने की शक्ति में कमी आती है तथा जिससे विचारों के आदान प्रदान और रोजमर्रा की आवश्यकताओं की पूर्ति में समस्या उत्पन्न होती है। बलराम एक 9 साल का बधिरांत बच्चा है। वो एक प्री मैच्योर बच्चा है जिसका शारीरिक विकास उसकी आयु के अनुरूप नहीं हुआ था। वो एक निम्न वर्गीय श्रेणी से संबंध रखता है तथा 5 साल से लगातार नेशनल एसोसिएशन फॉर ब्लाइंड दिल्ली के प्रशिक्षण कार्यक्रम से संलग्न है। इन 5 सालों के अंतर्गत उसे रोजमर्रा के कामों में, हलन चलन में, उसकी शैक्षणिक जरूरतों के अनुसार संप्रेषण द्वारा प्रशिक्षण दिया गया है जिससे वो इन सब क्रियाओं में स्वावलंबी बन सके। बलराम बिना किसी सहायता के चाकू से फलों को काट सकता है। उनके छिलकों को कूड़ेदान में डाल सकता है। अपने बर्तनों को खुद साफ कर सकता है। उन्हें सही जगह पर रख सकता है। सही बर्तनों का चयन करके खुद खाना खाता है। एवं पानी की बोतल निकालकर पानी भी पीता है। इन सभी क्रियाओं में वो टेक्चुअल साइन लैंग्वेज से निर्देशों को ग्रहण करता है और अपने भावों को व्यक्त करता है। टेलर फ्रेम और ब्रेलर द्वारा गणित, पठन लेखन में भी प्रशिक्षण प्राप्त कर रहा है। सभी बच्चों की तरह उसका भी एक मनपसंद खेल है। उसे सेल फोन को अपने कानों पर लगाकर उसका कंपन महसूस करना अच्छा लगता है। कहा जाता है, वॉकिंग विद अ फ्रेंड इन डार्क इज बेटर देन वॉकिंग अलोन इन लाइट। कहने का तात्पर्य है कि वो लॉन्ग केन ट्रेवल, टैक्टाइल पाथ, ट्रेलिंग और लैंडमार्क्स द्वारा हलन चलन में भी सक्षम है और व्यायाम संबंधी क्रियाएं जैसे ट्रेडमिल, स्टैटिक साइकिल का स्वचालन भी कर सकता है। कहा गया है, द बेस्ट एंड मोस्ट ब्यूटीफुल थिंग्स इन द वर्ल्ड कैन नॉट बी सीन और इवन टच्ड, दे मस्ट बी फेल्ट विद द हार्ट।
वेलकम बैक आफ्टर द ब्रेक। मैं एक बार फिर हमारे व्यूअर्स को याद दिला दूं दैट इफ़ यू हैव एनी क्वेरीज रिगार्डिंग आवर टॉपिक टुडे यू कैन कॉल अस ऑन आवर RCI स्टूडियो नंबर एंड आस्क आवर एक्सपर्ट। आवर टोल फ्री number is 1-800-112-0008. Our landline number is 265-11613 and our fax number is 265-11609. तो ब्रेक पे जाने से पहले हम बात कर रहे थे व्हाट आर द डिफरेंट टाइप्स ऑफ द कम्युनिकेशन, जिसमें हमें हमारी एक्सपर्ट ने एक्सप्लेन किया अबाउट द इंटेंशनल कम्युनिकेशन communication and pre-intentional communication, and why is it important, you know, for us to provide opportunities to the child by making available different resources in the environment. कितना ज़रूरी है environment में resources को available करवाना, because it's, you know, this is something which has a major role to play in when it comes to the learning of the child. Then we talked about what are the different stages of the communication. हमने अलग अलग stages की बात की थी communication की, जिसको बहुत ही briefly हमारी expert ने mention किया था. तो मैम हम बात कर रहे थे learning strategies की. So, you know, what are the inputs that you would like to give our viewers on the learning strategies?
Yes, actually main issue is how to teach the child communication, that learning strategy, what are the steps. Again, there is no single step, because when multiple disability comes, what is the factor associated with which condition? That is a question mark.
Yeah.
So it is depending upon the child, the flexibility, that is what I conveyed as a interactive impact. Interactive impact is based on the child's condition and other level, we will make the program. Okay, before entering into strategy, just have a brief information regarding the phases the child goes through before entering into the learning strategies.
Okay.
Okay, let us move to the screen. Communicational educational phases for children with multiple disability. Phase 1, the child is very inwardly focused, engaging in self-stimulation with very limited experiences with the objects in the environment, and who is very reluctant to engage with others except the most trusted adult. Phase 2, the child is somewhat more interested in his environment and others and can be engaged in brief interactions around high interest object or actions. He is still somewhat withdrawn, has limited interest, has limited ways to make contact with others, and has limited things he can do with objects. Phase 3, the child is interested in more interactive types of games, sometimes referred to as you to me and me to you, where he can take a turn, although he may not be able to initiate these games. He is interested in his environment and other adults and may fuss when the activity comes to an end. Phase 3, the child is ready to learn that taking action and interaction with others does not mean he has to do everything or do it perfectly. He has confidence in some of his actions or activities. He is beginning to understand time and a sequence of events and will often become upset or act threatened when familiar activities are engaged. Phase 5, the child is ready to learn that his own actions have consequences. He generally feels secure interacting with others, and though he still may have difficulty initially handling change, he is showing more coping skills. It is the same like earlier I conveyed the stages of communication. Own agenda stage, the receptor stage, and communication stage. Phase 1 tells the child is engaging in his own world. The second stage tells more interested. That is what I am telling. If we are going to deal with a multiple disability, first we have to focus which is more interested. But again, if the severity is more, say for example, again the child is having actually in Delhi, he came from Lakshmi Nagar. The child with visual impairment, hearing and self-stimulated MR, definitely IQ. How to measure the IQ? Parents come with the report, and with even cerebral palsy. Now what object the child is more interested? Phase 2 is a thing, because main thing, make the interaction with the environment, then only communication starts. In environment interaction means available object will make the child to move towards it or seek it. Then only the child can ask. For all human being, when we start crying, it's need base.
Yeah.
Even as a child, when we start conveying our communication, when we feel anger, it is not a conditioned stimuli, it is unconditioned stimuli, we responded. Okay, the same thing in the phase 2, interested object comes the child, again it is in one world, but little bit he looks around the environment. In phase 3, what happens means the child starts, if we start, the environment start playing with them, routine, making the routine with the multiple disability groups, and participating in activity of turn taking. Okay, then that's what I conveyed. Rocking the child likes. As we started, the child start communication. If only the mother does, automatically the communication angle of the child reduces. The child knows only mother.
Yeah.
That is what we need, the input from other people in the environment. Then the child can start communicating with others also. In phase 4, automatically the child starts understanding, okay, the communication environment is giving responses to me depending upon my certain action,
Certain actions,
my certain
right.
action.
Right.
Then let me start that action.
Communicating, thing.
The purpose
Okay.
comes. Actually, now let us move to the main strategies. Okay, the steps. Let us move to the
So it
screen.
was more of like the stages of the communication that we did earlier.
This
no?
phase conveys the emotional developing of the multiple disability child.
Okay.
In the learning process, earlier is the stage in the communication area. This conveys their mental, emotional developmental readiness starting to agree the environment and how to interact with it.
Okay.
Let us move to the screen. Essential strategies for learning. Number 1, develop security and attachment. Security and attachment through touch are essential for the cognitive task of object formation and symbol formation, which is the basis for formal communication, and communication is absolutely essential to learning. Strategy, resonance activities. Number 2, establishing near and distant senses in relation to the world. Strategy, using coactive movement strategies that foster turn taking. To teach turn taking, you can start by teaching signaling. Number 3, learning to structure the world through an introduction of object, through characterizing activity by associating a natural gesture, a smell, a taste, a texture, word, symbol. Number 4, developing natural communication. Anticipatory communication strategies are founded upon routine. It's our job to be alert to the student's anticipatory state so we can take the opportunity to expand the learner's understanding of a particular situation. Let me start from the first step, that is develop security and attachment. Let us start with a main example of the child. The child is with corpus callosum problem that connects the left side of the brain with the cleft foot, cleft palate, cerebral palsy, MR. Okay, and autism features are there. Around age 4, he came to our early intervention center. Okay, now first thing, what is the interaction of the child means need based he always, in case if he wants anything, already he learned, let him cry or tap the hand.
Okay.
Only thing, the child is not even able to sit independently, he needs support for sitting. So our first is to develop the security and attachment means if the feeling comes, the environment is safeguards me, then the child start interaction. So our main thing is the resonance activity means I asked the parents and what are the child's liking, dislikes, and he likes rocking behavior and music. Only 2 things, rest of the thing he don't like. Then I thought, let me keep him on my lap by stretching my leg and making jumping on that, and I conveyed thing, Karthik, we are doing jumping, horse riding. Gradually within 1 month, it has taken 1 month, then automatically the child showed a response in that way that okay, earlier he cried whenever I picked him up,
He used to
he
cry.
cried. What are the responses of the child? Gradually that reduces, and even he anticipated when I will pick him and keep in my lap and doing that.
Okay.
Because he likes rocking, but he does on his own or sitting on the chair, not with another person. His likes and dislikes are very limited. Now how I will move for, because he is having hypertactile sensitiveness.
Okay.
He never touched even any object even up to age 5. We did our desensitization, then he started touching the object. Even the touching object, if I count up to number counting, like up to number 10, keep in your hand. He will keep, as 9 comes, he will drop
it. Okay.
But it came. First thing, as attachment started, he will started this thing. In the second stage, distance of near, and this mean normally near refers to the movement, taste, smell, whatever these things and all. Distance refers to the language. Say for example, when doing an activity or area location, whether it is near or far, because in language when we are getting in or on, under, there is a big difference. Keep it on the table, keep it under the table, put it in, put it out, means what is the object location, this means nearness and far away. Then whenever we are picking up, okay, now come and sit here, the turn taking game comes where he is sitting. When my turn, your turn, when we convey this, that proximity, understanding little bit, it emerged out. it emerged out for the child. With an example I am telling. Now structuring in the world, it refers to teach a child, main focus is this. Normally a child with multiple disability, please better structure the environment. Don't change the things from place to place and keep the objects somewhere else. And the child, normally the characteristic of multiple disability children is that memory, always they forget about the things, and their attention perception is certain was in fluctuation, and always they forget whatever to retain the thing. It takes a problem for the child, again depending upon the condition combination.
Okay, so structuring is very important for them.
Normally, definitely the structuring conveys the child, okay, where it, because the structuring conveys about the environment, developing concept formation, the object permanent has to come. So if I am giving a ball in the hand of the child for this thing, I make the child, this is ball. Earlier it may be ball to play, but we are making it as a routine, and we are making the child to understand touching the ball means the activity.
Okay.
So the routine comes next sequence. Structuring environment conveys the sequencing of the activity. Without sequencing we can't structure the environment. So automatically that will make as a signal for the child
That the next, period is going to be the play time or whatever.
no, even in future we can make the child to touch the ball as the picture, depending upon the child's language or communication, if it is a vision. So our communication is conveyed to the child, now it is a play time.
Right.
So because the child with multiple disability who is not having interaction with the environment. See, for example, always remember, if the child may be labeled as a child with multiple disability, if he is having good interaction with the environment, we don't have that much problem in developing communication. Automatically the child will move stage by stage. What are the problem? Say for example, a child with aphasia, communication comprehension is problem. What are the availability? Okay, semantic pragmatic issue. What are the program? Let us try to give the child. The child will move.
Okay.
The same child with the dyslexia with the cerebral palsy may be labeled as a multiple, but language acquisition won't take that much of time. But the severity that it troubles how to make the child to interact with the environment. So
That
in the
is an
stage,
issue.
apart from it, characterizing. Characterizing is a very good aspect when the what we do, say for example, a child with even visual impairment, when we go and touch the child, with each child, main important, it's a hand-to-hand sign language or gestural will comes with multiple disability group. As I touch the child's hand, I used to tell, say for example, Sudarshan, now Gauri ma'am is having fun play with time with you. Why we are telling this? In the sense, the child has to understand who is now dealing with me, how to convey to the child who is dealing with them, and how to move to the activity. So in structuring the environment, we are giving the characteristic of each person. Automatically, as I touch his hands, he understands this is Gauri ma'am. Now each person with the physiotherapist, he will make the child to touch the, he takes the hand and makes to touch his watch. Now Vishwas sir has come, now we will start your PT. Because the child is having locomotor problem, his
Visual
hearing is
problem,
good, that is why
okay.
we are not this thing, but vision
but
problem
vision
with
problem
AMR.
is there. Okay.
And it is pseudo cerebral palsy, we couldn't understand what is this, and the child is not even responded to anything.
Okay, so ma'am, you mean to say that the residual, capabilities of the child, they also do have a major role to play in here?
Definitely, they have shown splinter skills. Normally, multiple disability group is having splinter skills.
Okay.
And the same child, what I conveyed is having cleft palate, this thing. But any music comes, automatically his rhythm will go accordingly. Even I am wondering how he is doing the same. No, he is not a musician. But his granny is a musician. When I asked her granny to check how he is responding to music, depending upon the rhythm, his
was
hand
just
tapping is
tapping.
accordingly.
Okay.
Nobody trained him. That means normally multiple disability group having the splinter skills. Earlier it is named as idiot savants. And idiot savancy, then they picked and somebody conveyed idiot savants means autism spectrum disorder. Again there is autism, certain children are showing savancy. The word idiot has removed.
Okay.
Only the word savancy is that is the splinter skill. They may show certain high level in certain
Skills,
areas. That is not only coming with the children with the autism only, in even other, that is what I am telling. This child is having corpus callosum problem, but his music rhythm. When we are teaching the structuring environment, I ordered the sequence of the teaching materials to train him the communication main issue. He has to tell now what activity you want to do. because it's not a routine that always I will give the activity on my own turn.
Okay.
I have to know child, he has to communicate now what is his preference.
Okay.
If I keep the object in the order,
Hmm.
he knows correctly, okay, this object will be here.
So-
Then as I ask, now always he picks up stacking up.
Okay.
His more preference is stacking up.
Yeah.
He will search it and he will, okay, now we will do stacking up first, because I am now the child has started coming.
Hmm.
Earlier when I kept him on his lap and did the jumping movement, he hesitated to come and sit with me for even 1 month.
Okay, but so here you mean to say that the child's preference is also equally important, It's
Always
not
for
that,
any child,
yeah.
it's not only with multiple, even for any so-called normal, our preference is better.
Okay, so it's not about that we are only imposing, schedule on a child as per our
Schedules
convenience.
helps the multiple disability people to understand what is the sequence, what is going to occur, then what is the next event, what we have to anticipate. That helps them a lot.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. So, what are the, ma'am, different ways in which, we can make them to communicate actually?
Okay, let us move to the slide and I will explain it. Establishing an effective way to communicate, mainly to A, visual, tactile or auditory representative system, real objects, miniature real objects, true object based icons, TOBIs, photos, real drawing, line drawing, written boards, voice output talking boards, computer programming. B, alternative communicative system, gestural, sign language, hand to hand, object exchange, picture point system, picture exchange communication system, electronic or alternative keyboards or computers, voice output communication aids, VOCs. Actually, before going to explain this thing, let me show certain picture presentation of what are the item that will motivate the viewers that how the system comes. Okay, the communication using objects. By keeping the objects hanging in the particular same, it is in the particular place, structured in the environment. By touching the glass, the child conveys, I want to drink, or whatever it is, the pictures. Communicating using tactile picture, the person with visual impairment along with mental retardation, by touching the embossing picture, the communication starts in this thing. Weekly schedule conveys how to structure each and activity, giving information of each day. Talking picture is a picture album. As you turn the page, it gives the word whatever it is. This is very important. We are using at pre-primary level, communication vest or apron. Depending upon the seat, they no need to carry a communication board. Argumentative communication system for adults. This is a speech device. By pressing it, it gives voices. Natural voice communication, packet talking device. Let me explain briefly each stages. Okay, in the communication system, visual and tactile or auditory, because when the multiple disability comes, we have to focus all the other channels, whatever the channel is working. Okay, first thing, real objects. Real objects mean touching the object, the child conveys, I need it.
Okay.
In the forms of communication, I conveyed the gestural object moving to the object. So if the child wants that object, he has to give it to the person. Or if you want to play, if it is a need base of object, mean it is easy. If you want to do the activity, you want to go outing. So for example, the child want to go to the park. Now what object is there? So the mini object like that park, if the child prefer to play swing in the park, if we give swing, again we have to think swing refers even at home also. So the real object, when we are dealing with the multiple disability people, we have to think what real type of object, in case the severity is there, the person is not able to do with pictures, or even in either verbalization is absent. Otherwise object communication we won't start with the severity, because why we have to start with object, teaching the communication and asking whatever it is. Only when the severity is more and the visual thing in the picture presentation has not learned at present. Maybe in future the child may learn, maybe
But at present he's not at that stage.
that stage, and verbal, no vocal sounds are there uttering. Then we have to think, let us first make the child to have an intention how to move our interaction with the environment to get a response, have a knowledge that the environment is responding to me and I will get whatever I prefer when I communicate to them. I can convey my likes and dislikes, or even I can deny. So that is our motion. Apart from objects, then again miniature real objects. Why? What is meant by miniature real objects? We used to keep it as a communication board.
Okay.
Normally the children who is having difficulty, even when the severity increases with the children with mental retardation along with other disability together, miniature objects, even that is what we did with a child with visual impairment and mental retardation. The child has to communicate braille letters, I couldn't catch because the child is having mental retardation. Then the object, big object, how many object we will keep?
Right.
That miniature object will come. The true object based icon is the cutout of the object.
It's in the picture form?
It comes in the picture form. It is a
Okay.
cutout. It will have the same size, shape. There won't be any change.
Okay.
Because normally with the main focus with the children with multiple disability, as the severity increases, if we are conveying glass, even in the teaching time we are not changing any other object. Whatever we are giving in the first time, it will be the consistency.
Okay.
Because when they touch, the tactile information they are getting. Say for example, it is a big glass, first time. Second time it is a different type of glass.
Oh,
Again the tactile information, already their memory is having problem. And retention is having problem.
Yeah.
Already their perception and attention is having giving complicated issue, challenge for the children. Then while I am teaching a concept, that concept make to develop a mental formation. Because it's touching they can understand, but the word gives the mental formation. Language is starting with the mental formation that comes even in Piaget's stages of this thing, cognitive development. So by touching the glass means let us don't change the texture, shape, size, nothing.
So consistency has to be maintained with
In
them.
case the child retains a lot, then in future we can modify.
Okay. For the generalization purpose, maybe in the later
Generalization in
station.
future.
Yeah, in the later stages. Okay.
Then about the photos, again depending upon the child. First, for any child with multiple disability, always line drawings and picture drawings is complicated. Always we start with the photos first. Again, because some children when we draw the line, they get confused about to understand about the pictures. Even the plate and circle, there is a big confusion.
Yeah.
Is it a
Right.
picture or
Is it a circle?
circle?
Yeah.
Again it's our difficulty because casually we draw a line drawing of a fan and kite and a fish. By showing a child, he tells everything as fish and this thing. But photos normally for any children. If the disability is not that much severe, we can. But multiple disability, often it occurs with the mental challenges. Definitely we have to look about the IQ level. If it is not with the mental challenge means okay, other areas we can look.
But even in photos, I feel, if we are drawing something by hand, then that accurate representation is also important.
Accurate representation, earlier nowadays even embossing pictures are naturally available in market. Earlier it was not there.
Yeah.
Okay, 3-dimensional pictures also maybe in future. Always we are getting 2-dimensional pictures. Okay, we will make the child to understand better when we show photos to communicate about what he wants, what he conveys.
Okay, so we learn about what are the other different ways to communicate with the person with the multiple handicap, but on that side of the break. So we'll take a short break here and we'll be right back after it.
This is Aparna. She loves chess and Shah Rukh Khan. Her best friend is Swati. She also has visual impairment.
La 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 la
This is Neeraj.
la la. हवा धीरे धीरे चल रही
He plays many instruments.
सुनो जो कहानी
He
कह
loves
रही
Mohammad Rafi
है,
and cricket.
ये कहानी सदियों पुरानी है, ये कहानी हमें
He also uses crutches for mobility.
धीरे धीरे
चंदा है तू मेरा सूरज है तू
This is Raj Bala.
मेरी आँखों का तारा है तू जीती हूँ मैं बस तुझे देख कर
With her husband and daughter. She loves cooking and watching TV.
सूरज है तू आ मेरी आँखों का तारा है तू
She also has cerebral palsy. Look beyond the disability. Look at the person.
Welcome back after the break. So this is going to be the last half an hour of today's discussion. तो इसीलिए आप चाहें तो जल्द से जल्द हमारे RCI स्टूडियो के नंबर पे कॉल करें और हमारे एक्सपर्ट से प्रश्न पूछें आज के टॉपिक से रिलेटेड. एंड फॉर द पर्पस आवर टोल फ्री नंबर इज 1800112008. Our landline number is 265111613 and our fax number is 265111609. So break पे जाने से पहले हम बात कर रहे थे कि what are the different efficient ways to communicate. ऐसे कौन कौन से different तरीके हैं जिससे हम हमारे multiple handicapped बच्चों को सिखा सकते हैं how to effectively communicate with the others in the environment. So मैम हम visual, tactile और auditory की बात कर रहे थे जिसमें आपने एग्जाम्पल दिया था real objects का, then miniature जो real objects होते हैं, then we were talking about the photographs also. What next after that? What are the other different ways?
line drawings आ जाएगा. And pictures maybe if you take written words. Actually, let us have an example. If the child is with the cerebral palsy and mental retardation, okay, now he want to communicate because of cerebral palsy, uttering of the word
It's
voice is
very
not coming.
difficult.
Now the child is cognition is, say for example, keep it as a mildly retarded, he can communicate, he understood pictures. So we can develop a communication board for the child to communicate.
Right.
And even in communication board, normally there should not be any stigma that why the child is using this. Mainly because even mild or moderate it is not there. Even with the severe children, we have to focus whether the child is able to say even or at least yes or no. The main question, because the communication with the photo drawings, it makes the child, I want this, that. Okay, let me give an example of a child with a severe multiple disability. He is a child with quadriplegic, MR, autism altogether. He was always, even chewing is not possible for the child. Yes or no or head nodding, it's not difficult for the child. He never did it. So my strategy is whatever he want to convey as, I want a yes or no answer from him. Okay, I thought, okay, let us try. His name is Danny. I said, Danny, if you want this only on right side, just turn your head. I tapped on right side for him. For me, it is left side. For example, again, if you want to know, turn on left side. Yes or no teaching is right side turn karo by giving, because establishing operation is a motivating reinforcement. So making the child, whenever he wants certain thing, just make the child to turn the head towards right side. That is enough. The child has started communication. I want this. You want this or not? Yes or no? No means towards, turn towards left side. So only it is what we call as it's a tactile learning, because we are making the child to turn this side, that side. It's not verbally he can't tell. His receptive language, see, when the non-verbal children, the auditory response, how we will catch whether the child understands or not. Again, if the child is with the cerebral palsy and the locomotor issue comes, or even with autism children, head nodding for yes or no, it's a problem issue. Okay, then we have to think how we will make the child to communicate. Then turning that side, or written words means, written words we had two colors. We use two color, that as a communication board. Talking words, it is costlier.
Okay.
but I showed that in the pictures.
yeah,
It is depending upon the locality they can buy.
And of
Picture
course
album and
their
all, whatever it
economic
is,
status
economic
and
status.
and all
But just only two colors, red and green.
Hmm.
We use the signal, this thing, green means yes, red means
red
no.
means no. Okay.
Only two colors. Just the child touches.
Hmm.
Who is able to move his hand. But that conveys the child started communicating, because when we started in the first stage, one agenda stage, then we move to the next stage, automatically the interaction, we keep on checking at what phase the child is now. Is it in the phase 1? Actually, I am telling this technique we are using even with the single disability group also. It's not that there is a major this thing, but when we are dealing with multiple disability group, first thing we have to look about what the phase is existing. Is it phase 1 level or phase 2 or phase 3, whatever. And even in the communication stages, what stage the child is there, whether he is in the pre-intentional or he is moving towards intentional stage. Again we have to think he is in the own agenda stage or receptor stage or communicator stage or partner stage. Partner stage tells his communication has improved a lot. Okay, that conveys with the multiple disability group, we have to think the environmental structuring, sequencing, these are all the important fact, because all inputs what we are giving, how it makes the child, let us interact with the world. Okay, let us move for the argumentative aspect in communicating this.
So here, ma'am, before we start the learning process with the child, we need to know at which level of the communication he is basically, so that we can.
No, that is when the stage 1, our communication stage, what I conveyed, one agenda stage tells the child is, that's what I am conveying, whatever he wants. We have to check out whether the child, if the child mobility is having mobility, whether he reaches the place or he handles the other person. In case if he is not doing, that response is everything we are noting down before planning a goal itself. If the child is not having mobility, then the big question mark is there, what are the communication channels he is having, is verbal or is certain echoing or certain thing. If it is not there, again we have to think what are the options for us, whether his hand is movable position or not.
Okay.
So we have to think about that aspect, depending upon, we made a simple pressing like watch. It's not watch actually, button. The child can move one little bit. If he press this means he is calling somebody.
Okay.
Because calling bell means he has to move certain distance, always if it not nearby, again a problem. It could be a pressing button in the belt also, we can make anything depending upon the child's severity.
Okay.
So the visual aids and the tools of pictures, object, everything is very good possible with the children is not having visual impairment as along the multiple group.
Okay.
Because visual aid, but who are allowing auditory problem to using the communication
That
board
can be
communication,
used,
that is again a problem. Because if we go for the voice output talking birds, children along with visual impairment, we can't use that. So normally depending upon the child's level, we will plan what type of this thing. At present we have to start first, then gradually as the child's age improves, or if we are using in the adult period also, the I think shall I show it? I will show it again. The apron model we are using even for adults. We are having different types. Even who met with an accident become multiple disabled. Automatically they won't communicate. Already they learned, their cognition haven't blacked that much. So this they are doing. So we have to
Even
think
for a physically challenged person also, who can't move and they can't verbalize. So maybe this kind of apron can be used with them.
Yeah, we are using now. Okay, now this is what the phase we have to always think what stage he is. Now one more, the other argumentative communication method, we will go for it. Let us move to the screen. Establishing an efficient way to communicate. B. Alternative communicative system, gestural, sign language, object exchange, picture point system, picture exchange communication system, electronic, alternative keyboards or computers, voice output communication aids, VOCs. Here the most interesting aspect is gestural, how to make the child to gestural. Earlier in the stage of first developmental stage, the security and attachment, the child start the interaction with the environment, it conveys the child will start imitation. In the security and environment and the knowledge about nearness and farness, that conveys the child is gaining knowledge and he will start the stages of imitation, because gestural we can use for those children who can imitate.
Right.
Even with multiple disability group, as certain children depending upon the severity, they keep on repeating the same gesture for all the issue. We can't increase a lot in this one. Okay, so we have to plan what gesture the child can communicate. Let me take the same example of the child who is having corpus callosum with the cleft palate, autism and cleft foot, everything. But he learned his language in such a way that whatever he wants, we kept in an object in that communication board means picture identification. If it goes in sequence, he agrees it.
Okay.
So when we started teaching the picture itself, because when we are teaching the picture identification, we keep in 2 choice, multiple choice or whatever it is. Here we reduced it. No 2 choice, multiple choice or this. The object what I am teaching, it will be always there only. It never changes. With the first picture, it may be confused. When the second picture comes, there are a discriminative object. It's a glass the child has learned. I never changed. Whatever the other pictures I kept, the picture of the glass is the first picture, that's all. He always has to touch. Then we moved for the next picture, toilet. Say for example, it is the second one. Now other pictures whatever I am keeping, that comes around here and there, but the position is the same. Gradually he learned, because when teaching the picture itself, without changing the picture itself, we kept it.
But because after a certain point of time, you know,
I
for
mean
the
severity is IQ is, I am telling IQ is 28.
okay.
Then because when we are giving program to the child, I am maximum focusing on the most severity condition. Ma'am, please, one thing, the child multiple disability, the labeling won't looks nice, because a person with simple monoplegia and visual impairment, when earlier he may be labeled as visual impairment, with this physical calamity again people call him as a multiple disabled. Even to listen a word like disabled is not a good comfortable word. Okay, then how come they can agree to label them as a multiple disability person? Because his cognition is good. Vision problem is the major this thing. The secondary issue is monoplegic. But what is the labeling he is having now?
It's multiple disabled, right.
But he can learn the communication as usual. There won't be that much of blockage, because that is what I conveyed in the impact of multiple disability group. Additive impact conveys the person is only the monoplegia, doesn't affect his learning braille and all. Let us move in the braille same way. Additive impact, that is what is additive impact. Interaction impact it conveys, no, again the person with the tightness spasticity, the braille learning is difficult for him. Now move to the other aspect. So in multiple disability group, we have to focus is the primary factor is primary disability and secondary disability, both are severe. Or only the primary disability is the main factor, secondary issue is a minor
issue. Yeah.
Then their communication is the same like the people with the same disability. Ma'am, say for example the person with the hearing impairment, okay, just he is having paraplegia, he can move in a wheelchair, only we have to teach him how to move in the environment. Rest of the thing, learning cognition is the same as hearing people with hearing impairment, because he can learn, vision is there. That's what in multiple disability group, if the primary factor is the main issue, secondary issue is at milder level, communication won't give that much problem.
Okay, but in case, you know, where
the secondary is also
severe one, yeah.
equal like the primary factor, then the problem blackens us.
But still, you know, ways can be found out to make them learn
and
how
nowadays
to communicate.
the multi-technical in the new technology, lot of things are available. Even I think that came in our RCI publishing front page, the scientist, I've forgotten his name, he is just voice box, by just with eyes it's giving answers by looking at it's coming in communication nowadays.
So technology also plays a major role.
How to communicate, even packet size.
Right.
In sign language, again we have to think depending upon the child how he is going to communicate, because sign language with a child with a hearing problem and vision problem, it is hand to hand gesture. Hand to hand sign will start. Even we used to tell one of the child with the hearing impairment with autism, we have to give him program how he has to convey the object. Picture identification he can, But again, a child with visual impairment, mental retardation and hearing, three things together, how we will make the child to communicate?
Absolutely.
Where the sign language, where the object input, we did it. Just the 5 fingers we are taken is sign communication board, that's all. This means toilet, this means play, okay, this is food, pointing.
then
So certain
water.
fingers we keep on touched, we are not taken more. We focused main issue because the child has to first let him start interaction. As the interaction starts, maybe the child will move from stage to stage, next stage to strengthen his communication. Again, depending upon the environment input, I am telling literally one of the child around age 4, the child came to our center with this is severe mental retardation with visual impairment. As we started program, even to teach a concept, to arrange the ring stand in the pyramid, whatever it is, it has taken 6 months to make the child to understand, but the child is verbal.
Okay.
But gradually within 1.5 years, even I am wondering, the report came like that the child is 142 is the IQ, how it's an amazing factor, and the child is going to the visual impairment school.
Okay. And sign language, ma'am, you know, when it comes to a person who's hearing impaired but visually is fine, so that's, you know, it's easy for you know, for him to learn sign language. For a person like who's deaf blind, you know, so those hand to hand sign
Hand
language.
to hand, and it is personal sign, it is not a general sign. For a person with hearing impairment and visual problem, when comes the sign language, whatever we are using, first we are conveying hand to hand according to the child.
Yeah.
And again according to the child's cognition, person's cognition, the response, the gestures will differ accordingly.
Okay. And even, ma'am, you know, if a child is hearing impaired and severely mentally retarded, so the, you know, the imitation thing is not there, so you know, it will be difficult for him
That's
also
what I
to
am
put
telling.
on the sign
Yeah,
language.
we did only right side, left side, yes or no?
Yeah,
Okay,
or maybe
then
that red card and then green
red
card
card,
thing can
because
be used.
the child's severity conveys, but what is our expectation? First make the person, I can communicate to the environment, there are options, there are avenues, even a pressing button, it conveys, is not, the child is not going yes or no. If he presses it, people come and near him, always they will touch the child, that means
Okay.
the job is like that.
Okay.
When even an object exchange comes, how the object exchange comes in the sense, the child, how he will, say for example, let me take a serious example, that the child who is having visual impairment along with CP and autism spectrum disorder, picture again mental retardation also one of the factor, IQ is around 35, but his 7C splinter skills, he is very good visual learner, any words you give, he will point nicely, very well. But again, the one more the semantic issue, semantic probability issue came out is, he won't give that object.
He was just pointing.
He points correctly, he picks up correctly, even he keeps the spelling correctly. Never he changed the spellings or object. But after reading this, if I show this word card, please give me this object, or match the picture with the same object, there was a hindrance.
Oh.
Because of the multiple disability, he showed the 7C. That splinter skills is a good visual learner, that what we call as hyperlexic syndrome. Hyperlexics are very good visual learners. Anything they may immediately pick up everything and they will tell so many things, but even they have the semantic pragmatic problem also. Even hyperlexic children with autism spectrum disorder also hyperlexic comes.
Okay, because you know, I have seen this child with me who's on spectrum, you know, and is able to, you know, match that object to object thing. But when it comes to picture, then he's not doing that, you know. He's doing picture to object, but that's same, you know, picture to picture nahi aa pa raha hai.
That may be from moving to concrete to abstract, the child may take
Spacing
time,
of
or
time.
there may be certain difference. Even the same children, certain times when we start communication, the picture of line drawing confuses.
Yeah.
So we are thinking about the child expectations, how the child first have a confidence. Okay, I can communicate with the environment. What are the avenues for the child? What are the channels available in the hand of the child to ask information or guidance or request or even to say hello? The child, daily whenever I go meet the child with the severe multiple this thing, even I'll just go and take his hand. Hi, Karthik, Gauri, Namaskar. Always I used to do high five with this right hand. Okay, till now when I enters and he said, hi Karthik, by listening my voice is auditory, is automatically he raises the right hand. But here please think about it, because we faced a problem in teaching the sign language with a child with autism, gestural to teaching yes and no, head nodding, everything. Okay, a child with mental retardation around 45 and autism spectrum disorder, we make him to nod the yes to say yes. I ask him, Vishu, do you want a biscuit? Yes, yes. Earlier he had the thing hand leading, so he used to do that object. Okay, then gradually what happened, as he get information, he did that, he learned yes or no signal within it has taken 3 months. But within a week, I received a phone call from the mother, ma'am, nowadays my child during snacks time, he is not leading my hand, but the problem, he is crying and doing. I said, please better check. Earlier during snacks time, he used to take the mother's hand to that object. No,
And
the
then he
child,
stopped doing
he
that.
getting it. He stopped because I started yes and no teaching.
see,
His preference
okay.
is only eatable. My problem stuck up there. I didn't know what problem I will face in future. I asked the mother, you observe before the snacks time what he used to do. Sequence is there. He used to go and wash his face and change the dress. Then snacks time.
Okay.
Automatically he is going independently, standing in front of the snacks box and nodding his head.
Okay, that he
Because
wants that.
no, but no, that's what I am telling. Intentional stage means two-way communication. But whether there is nobody is there, because of the autistic feature, he has forgotten I have to convey to others. He learned from me, yes means if I nod the head, I am
I
getting
get this
biscuit.
thing. Okay.
Then he has forgotten when somebody asks, then only I have to nod my head.
Okay.
But even with the absence of the mother, he is going and standing in front of the
And he's
snacks
nodding
box
his head
and
in
nodding
yes.
the head. And nobody is giving. Who knows that he is nodding?
Okay, okay.
Then he rolled up and crying. Then again we gave another training. If you are telling yes or no, touch the other person's head and head, not the head.
Okay.
Because
Alright.
communication means he moved from a stage nodding yes and no and telling answers in a even finger this and that, he started touching. But in the beginning stage, because of the multiplicity, because 45 in the IQ, little bit difficult for us to make the child with autism as an associated again, two cognitive areas problems.
Okay.
Then the same comes like picture exchange, electronic, again electronic alternative keyboards, voice output communication, it exactly depends upon the cognitive aspect of the person. Is the cognitive aspect is very good, okay. With a severe case only we can have pressing button or just turning this side or that side, that will enhances keyboards.
Okay. So would you like to, because we are about to wind up, so in the end, would you like to give some certain tips about the communication thing and all?
Yes, we will move to the keyboard. Just a minute. Communication tips while dealing with the multiple disability: uses short, easy, predictable steps, has a consistent beginning and end, occurs at a consistent place and time with the consistent objects and person, is based upon the interest of the child, is done with the adult in close proximity, focuses on relationship building, does not have the expectation of the child completing the activity on his or her own, use non-language forms such as objects, vocalization, touch cues, etc., views non-communicative behaviors as having communicative intent. Here with multiple disability, main thing, focus what is the interest of the child. Interest only make the child, make us to keep a proximity with the child to develop a two-way interaction. If you want to trace the interest, because when the severity of the multiple disability group increases, it is a very difficult phase we are facing. What is the interest of the child? One child with a pseudocerebral palsy, just he never is visual testing, auditory, everything is normal. But even with a loud music near TV or anything, he never turned his head. And he used neck collar here, turning head, holding head is not there, first problem. Okay, now how to start communication with them? Okay, that we started by holding his hand and conveying hand to hand gesture, now do this, hold this. It started, but what only he is having the capability to turn the eyes.
Okay.
He is the only communication tool available at when we started the program. because head turning is not there. Only moving, turning the eyes. We started the activity. I asked Sudarshan, if you want a head, turn this side. We tap that side. Again, sound response is not there. Only tapping on his right leg or the right hand only. That conveys turn this side.
Okay, because the hearing thing is also
Hearing
was also
is
not there.
we never turned his head by listening it, but the report came as normal auditory report. But only thing, he turned eyes. It takes even earlier when we started the program. It has taken even 5 minutes to turn the head towards that side. But gradually, it's very nice. He will turn only. It's a fraction of second, not a continuity. Eye contact. It's not there, but he just turn eye that side. That's all. Then this side. He showed very good in only doing activity. I will tell Sudarshan, if you want to do this activity, turn right side. We will touch the body on the right side. If you don't want to do, turn left side.
Okay.
Definitely his eye nicely turns on left side maximum.
Okay.
And okay, but we felt happy he has started
At least he-
communicating.
yeah, at least
His
he has
interaction
started
is coming.
communicating.
Then move stage by stage.
Yeah.
Because see, with the multiple disability group, the person's response is only moving the eye, even it has taken times. So relationship building and what we mainly call views of non-communicative behaviors, that even any reflexes of any responses of the person, think it as a communication building. And structuring the environment is a must. Sequencing the, for multiple disability group, what are the activity in the routine or even teaching communication, it has to be sequenced the same in the starting stage. If it is not in a sequence, it becomes a problem for the children to acquire communication.
Okay. So it's become very important, you know, to provide them predictability.
Predictability comes only when it is a structure there, it is a sequence there. Automatically predictable thinking then only emerge because of the multiple disability groups characteristic. The attention and perception is very poor and the retaining is always very less.
And as you just said, different ways of the communication has to be used with them, you know, visual and auditory and tactile.
Tactile, even smell. We did one of the child, if you want to this thing, only the particular, you want this soap or that soap, even just smelling the child, because the child is a quadriplegic child.
Okay.
But even smell the taste, we did salt, this sweet you want or this. We used to, rasgulla I am teaching, gulab jamun, keep the taste the child. I am telling even multiple disability group, please remember, they have shown the certain 7C. 7C refers to high level, certain peaks.
So,
They show.
what we call as the peak, you know, skills. That
They have normally multiple disability people, it takes time for us to understand where is the child's level. They are doing.
Okay. So, and of course you said कि जो residual capacities हैं बच्चे की, it always plays a major role in the learning of the child. Okay, so as you have already, you know, summarized most of the thing that we completed in 2 hours, but just for our viewers, let me just remind you that ma'am just explained us what exactly multiple disability is all about, then how to, how to work out on the things before we start working on the communication skills of the child. It's very important for the, for us to diagnose what are the disabilities the child is having. And then it's very important to know what is the primary disability hai or jo secondary disability hai. Then we learned what is the main relationship between the speech, language and the communication. What are the different ways through which a child can be taught to communicate, whether it's visual, auditory, tactile और या फिर जो alternative communication systems की हमने बात की थी, जहाँ पे हमने sign language के बारे में discussion किया था, then gestural prompting के बारे में हमने discussion किया था, picture exchange system के बारे में discussion किया था, and of course because आजकल के times में technology, since it's playing a major role, so of course technology has an important role to play in when it comes to the learning for the person with the multiple handicap. So that was all for today, ma'am. Thank you so much for coming here and telling such important things to us. हम अगली बार फिर लौटेंगे एक नए डिस्कशन और नए एक्सपर्ट के साथ. देखते रहिए RCI का नवशिखर चैनल. धन्यवाद.